Alright, here we go. Day number 2 of our brand new solo journey on an official PvP server. Let's get started. So in today's episode, we are picking up right where we left off on day 1 and focusing all of our energy into gearing up and preparing to take on the server on day 3. Now the first thing we're going to do today to get our day started, we're going to build a temporary starter base right over here close to the obelisk at the dregs. And the reason for building so close to the obelisk is because we're going to be traveling all over the map today, gathering all sorts of materials, and I want quick and easy access to our base whenever we need to drop off some loot. Normally, as a solo player, you're not going to want to build in such a public area like the one we're building on, but since it's not currently raid hours and since this is only a temporary base that we're only using to gear up, I'm not too worried about getting raided. Oh, and by the way, just real quick, if you haven't watched day 1 of this new series and you're interested in seeing how I power leveled up to level 60 in about 3 hours time, I'll go ahead and link the playlist for this series in the description. Alright, and there we have it, our starter base is built, and now we're gonna craft some basic benches just so that we can leave some materials cooking while we're out running errands. Okay, just got done setting up most of the benches that we'll be using today, and now before we head out, I'm just gonna quickly farm some iron outside to leave in the furnace, since now that most of the vendors at the Kurak dungeon have been removed, we're back to the old days of having to manually farm for some iron and steel. Alright, so now that we have our starter base up and running, it's time that we go out and collect everything that we need to be fully geared for tomorrow so that we can actually go out and do some fun solo online raids. For this episode, I'm just going to go through what I normally do to get geared up when I'm fresh on a server. So for our first destination, we're going to head over to the Sinkhole obelisk. The first thing we're going to do here, we're going to head over to the summoning place and learn the recipe for salted pork, which is one of the 2 strength buffs that I use for PvP. There we go, super quick and super easy. Now we're going to make our way back to the sinkhole and learn the recipe for the Dragonbone armor. I guess while we're here, I'm just going to start looting the chest so that we can already start farming some gray lotus flower to learn some magic spells in the future. I was really hoping that with this new loot revamp that we would actually get some more gray lotus flower, but it seems like we're only getting more seeds now. Well, either way, at least we got what we came here for. We got our Dragonbone armor recipes. So now let's get out of here and move on to our next destination. Our next destination will be the Savanna, where we will farm some feline pelt and alchemical base, both of which we'll need to make some armor. Alrighty, we have made it to the Savanna, and now before we start hunting tigers, we're gonna hunt the blood crystal rocknose that lives here. We're gonna farm it for some blood crystals and use those blood crystals to buy some alchemical base from one of the few vendors that still remain at the Kurak dungeon. There we go, we got a few blood crystals. Now let's get some feline pelt. Alright, that should be more than enough. Now we'll make a quick stop by the Kurak dungeon and exchange our blood crystals for some alchemical base. So there aren't that many vendors left here, but at least we can still buy some alchemical base from this vendor. So since we didn't have that many blood crystals to begin with, we only managed to get 49 alchemical base, but we're gonna process the gold stones and silver stones into more alchemical base once we get back, and we should have enough to make some armor later on. Alright, so for our final stop in this area, we're gonna make our way to Weaver's Hollow and farm some silk. There we go, I think that's enough for now. Another super quick and easy stop in today's agenda. Now we'll head back to base and make a quick loot deposit and get some of these materials processed for later. Back at home base, just gonna put some of this loot away and get some stuff crafting. We're gonna need some explosive arrows later on to go farm some star metal, so we'll get the dragon powder going right away. Alrighty, we're good to go. We got some more stuff cooking on the benches. Now we're off to our next destination. We're gonna make a quick pit stop at the Mounds of the Dead to farm some raw pork, which we'll need to cook some salted pork for our strength buff. There we go, another super easy item off our list. Now we're gonna make our way to the Black Keep dungeon to learn the recipe for the Silent Legion armor. So I normally speedrun my way through the Black Keep dungeon, but I think this time I'm gonna take some time to loot some of the chests and see what kind of loot we end up getting now that all loot has been revamped. Alright, here we go, time for the Black Keep dungeon. Oh yeah, so they actually ended up putting traps in this dungeon now. Gotta watch out for those. Alright, so we've looted quite a few chests so far, and this is what we have gotten so far. Nothing too crazy here, but I guess it's a lot better than what we used to get here before the update. Okay, we're almost at the very end of this dungeon. Here we are, made it to the boss room. Let's just get the recipe and be on our way. We're not gonna bother fighting it. There we go, we got the recipe. And unfortunately we can't open these chests because we don't have any legendary keys right now. Alright, let's get out of here. We'll go back to base and drop off all this loot and then move on to the next dungeon. So for our next dungeon, we'll be running the Warmaker's dungeon, and our objective here is to learn the Grandmaster recipes so that we can upgrade our armor and weapons. Since I'm running an encumbrance build, I'm not really looking forward to fighting these first 3 bosses. It's gonna take forever with no strength points. Oh, check that out. Looks like they added another boss in this first room. we go. Sadly, no more lump from this guy. Would have been nice. I'm gonna try and loot all the chests that we find in this dungeon just to see how good it is here. These coins are actually perfect for us because we can grind them down and make some more alchemical base. Oh, and check that out. You can actually get Great Lotus now in this dungeon. That's nice. Here we go. Time for the second boss. There we go. That's the second one. Just need one more. Alright, I think that's everything. Let's go fight that third and final boss. Oh, this guy is new here too. Never seen him before. There we go, that's the last one. Alright, let's place these down and move on to the next room. There we go, we got the key. Now we can open this door. I normally just skip past everything here and just go straight to the boss room, but we'll take a moment to loot the chests here. Oh, this is a pretty good chest. We got some layered silk. And in this one we get some scrap and some hardened steel. Not bad. Oh, this one's really good too. 5 Grey Lotus powder. We can use that to learn the bat spell. Alright, we're gonna get out of here now. I'm sure I've missed a few chests, but from the ones we just looted, the loot's pretty great in this dungeon. It's definitely worth it to take your time and loot everything here. We're gonna skip the arena champion and just go straight to learning the Grandmaster recipes. Right now I'm just laser focused on getting some decent PvP armor and weapons. I just want to be able to go on raids and fight other players as soon as possible. Alright, here we are. We made it to the final boss room. We'll skip the boss and just quickly grab the Grandmaster recipes and be on our way. We got the recipes and now we're gonna head back to base for a quick loot deposit and then we'll figure out what's left in today's agenda. Alrighty, our loot has been deposited and now we're off to farm some star metal, which we're gonna need to make some armor and some weapons. As per usual, I'm really hoping that we're not gonna need to spend too much time looking around for star metal nodes. We'll start by scouting west of the Frost Temple. That's usually my lucky side. I always tend to find some nodes there. Check it out, it hasn't even been more than 1 minute and we already found our first node. Yeah, check it out, we got plenty from just one node. I'm gonna start heading towards the map room and if I see any other nodes along the way I'll farm it, but we're pretty much set with this. There we go, and just like that, from 2 nodes we're loaded with star metal. Let's head back to base now and get this star metal processed into some star metal bars. We're gonna take a quick trip now to the Unnamed city and farm some Dragonbone, which we're gonna need to craft our armor. Once we get done with this, we'll have only 1 mission left and then we'll be ready to finally craft some armor. Alright, let's drop this Dragonbone back at home base and then go on our final mission for the day. So for our final mission of the day, before we start crafting our gear, we're gonna go to the Witch Palace and learn the recipe for the Lemurian Pike, which last time I checked, it's considered the best craftable spear on this map. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I actually have never been in this dungeon before, so I did respec into a fighter build just in case this boss is a difficult one. Alright, we have finally made it to the Witch Palace. Let's see how our first run of this dungeon goes. So this place isn't much of a dungeon really. You just come inside and you're directly in the boss room. The doors are closing, fight is about to start. Let's see how tough this boss is. Here we go. Well, this first giant was super easy. I'm sure it's a whole lot easier with Q-lock, so you always hit the leg. Here we go, time for the second one. Now we'll fight the Witch Queen. There it is, the Witch Queen is down, super easy boss. Let's go ahead and grab a recipe now and be on our way. Before we head back to base, we're gonna stop by the Black Garden and farm some Black Lotus flower, which we're gonna need to craft some Black Lotus potions. I am gonna need some fur as well to make some bulk plating, so we'll take a few gorillas down. And now at last we'll head back to base for the final time today, and I'll get everything sorted and start crafting us some proper armor and weapon. Alrighty guys, been back at home base for a bit now, just sorting everything and waiting for a few prerequisite materials to finish crafting, and I wanted to share a quick tip with you guys just in case you didn't know. So now that loot has been revamped, we tend to get a lot of decent stuff from thralls and chests, and if you have any stuff that you don't plan on using, it's always a good idea to dismantle it so that you can get the extra materials that you might actually use. So here I'm just dismantling everything that we picked up in the last 2 days that I won't be needing anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and let all this stuff get dismantled, and once it's done, I'll go ahead and show you the results. Alrighty, so here's everything. We got a decent amount of hardened steel and a few other materials as well. As you can see, it's a really nice and easy way of getting a few extra materials now that the vendors at the Kurak dungeon have been removed. So definitely, if you're out looting all the chests and thralls, make sure to dismantle all the stuff you don't plan on using. Alright, now we're gonna get started with crafting everything that we're going to need for tomorrow. We'll start by cooking some salted pork, which will be one of our 2 strength buffs. Now for our second strength buff, we'll be making some really cheap Black Lotus potion. That's pretty much it for buffs. Now in terms of armor, I'm just gonna go with what I usually use. This armor set is really cheap to make, and for me it gets the job done when it comes to PvP. Unfortunately, with this new chapter 2 update, the thrall vendor has been removed, so we don't have any good thralls that can craft our armor and weapon, so we're just gonna have to settle for now with a no thrall crafted armor and weapon. Now lastly, for our weapons, we're gonna craft ourselves our trusty star metal great axe and a Lemurian pike, and that's pretty much it. Now we just gotta wait for everything to finish crafting. Here we have it. We have completed our mission for the day and finally geared ourselves up for day 3. Now we're finally ready to go out and do some fun solo online raids. Make sure that if you made it this far into the video and you're not subscribed yet, do hit that subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss all the future raids that are to come. Alright, here we go. Time for some fireworks. We got 2 of them online. Godspeed to us.